Welcome to the Snowbird Investor Way, where we explore what it takes to create your dream cross-border lifestyle, living and investing amongst the sun, sand, and palm trees of Florida, even if you're not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. I'm your host, Coach Roel. So Gary and Cindy, very good to see you. How are you guys doing down there in Okeechobee, Florida?
Doing great.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
We're trying to enjoy the sun. We're having too much rain, but it's better than snow. So here we are.
Yes, exactly. So let me catch you guys up, our listeners and viewers up, just really briefly. Gary, you are originally from Canada, so you're a Canadian boy, and you met this fine young lady, Cindy, down in Florida just a few years ago. And you both have kind of bring interesting skills to the table when it came to real estate. So you have both a personal relationship as well as a business relationship. I want to focus a little bit more on the business side of things in real estate, as it were, the Snowbird Investor Way. So let's start with Gary. What is your background in real estate up to this point?
Well, to make a long story short, I've been a carpenter since I was 18 years old. I'm now 58, so I've been in this for 40 years. Pretty much done everything from apprenticing as a cabinet maker, stair builder, and then later on in my years, once I learned a bunch more about the trades, got into house flipping and then eventually house building. The flipping was done really just kind of on a part-time thing. And excuse me, I never really considered myself an investor. I just basically, while I was doing my full-time jobs, would buy a house and sometimes live in it, sometimes not, and renovate it. And it was just a way to generate more money in my spare time, which I didn't have a lot of. So they were kind of a longer process. But yeah, so that's my background. I've pretty much just been in construction and all around home construction for most of my adult life. And
where in Canada were you operating?
London, Ontario.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, Cindy, how about your background? You came from not so much from a construction point of view, but you've been involved with real estate in your own way as well.
Right. My involvement in real estate prior to this was all in my personal life, with building a couple new homes, renovating a couple homes, buying some acreage, that type of thing, and yes, improving their value and then selling from there. So not the manager of the projects, but overseeing and bookkeeping and systems work for it.
And what area was your real estate experience mostly in?
Mine was all in
geographically.
Arkansas, United States. And specifically Northwest
Arkansas. Arkansas.
Yes.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you had in your personal portfolio, a lot of your real estate experience was just buying and holding as well?
Yes, that's right. No rentals to speak of, other than ancillary with some other businesses that my ex-husband ran. We were involved a little bit in that, but I didn't do a lot with that.
Yeah, and I was the same. I never did any kind of, buy things, renovate them, and then rent them out and have tenants and be a landlord and all of that kind of thing. I found that to be, me personally, just didn't have the time for it or the patience to deal with tenants. So it was always just a case of building things and renovating as well as working in the trade. I owned a bathroom renovation company for 10 years at one point in time, which was very similar to Bath Fitter. And so I was always, involved in home renovation improvements. So when we got down here and Cindy and I met, that wasn't the first thing we were talking about, obviously. Was not about business and, and our backgrounds with that or any intention of doing that down here. But, as time went along and we, became more involved with each other and wanted to spend more time together, we thought, oh, well, there's got to be a way that I can be down here in the States, doing something that would give me the opportunity to spend more time here. And that's when we, put our heads together, start thinking about things. What would you do? Could I buy a business down here, an already established business, or find some way of starting another business? And then I just thought, well, you know what? I should just stick to what I know and what I've done all my life and what I do best. And we started thinking about how we could
Mm-hmm.
get involved in real estate down here. And it was really just by happenstance that we found you on Facebook. All your campaigns that you run for the Snowbird Investor Club, and I thought, well, that looks interesting. Snowbird Investors, what is that? And we started. I clicked on it, started, looking at it and seeing, oh yeah, well, there's a whole bunch of Canadians that are down here investing in real estate, and I thought, well, that may work out for us here, and so that's how the story began.
That's really cool. And so you guys, I want to make sure I point out, so anyone viewing or listening to this, the impetus was not about making a bunch of money in real estate. And
No.
rarely is it. Even I recommend that people don't think, because there's always going to be more money to be made, more projects to be taken on. But what that is more a means to an end. And your end was really, your number one objective was really, how can Gary spend more time down in Florida, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then you found that common background, and it was most realistic to be able to think, okay, well, it's something to do with real estate.
Yes.
And how was your initial conversations with each other about how that would fit the real estate aspect with your lifestyle?
I'll take this one.
Oh, well, initially we were stepping in easily, but it was clearly Gary's background and what he knew how to do best. So it seemed a natural fit as something. Again, he looked at some other businesses, buying some existing businesses, but when it came down to it, what he knows and how he knows, and my project management background is kind of adds to that, just with keeping track of some things. So, with his skill and knowledge level of the whole build process, it was just a natural fit for us to start looking in that direction, because he clearly knows everything about construction. So why not utilize that?
And the other thing too was, we were looking at it, and it was like, we're both pretty much retired or semi-retired, whatever you want to call it. We didn't want to be buying a business and it basically controlling our life and making us work full time. It's like, how can we just do something that we enjoy, make some money at it, but really just, it was more about giving us the opportunity to enjoy the Florida lifestyle. And so that's when we started digging into this and found, well, yeah, this can give us exactly what we want. We can do as much or as little as we want. Be down here enjoying the weather, enjoying, going and seeing different places, and really just kind of having fun along the way, but still making, some money at it at the same time. So it was a really good
Excellent. And so you're in the thick of it. We're going to get into at least one of the deals that you currently have on the go. But I want to throw this question to Cindy. And I know that your business activities is still evolving. You're still kind of figuring it out as you go. And the important thing is that you guys are moving forward, and you have 3 projects on the go, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But Cindy, how would you describe the pace of your business now? Because at the time that we're recording this, it's probably almost not even a year since we first met. And the expectations that you guys had from the beginning, as you were saying, let's figure something out where it takes the best skills and experience that you both can bring to the table, but yet you're not committed in a traditional business like every single day with employees and payroll, but you have projects that you can take on if you'd like, or you can decide to pass on. So, Cindy, how would you describe, I guess, the good and bad of what it's really like now versus what you were planning before? Is it what you had planned not even a year ago?
Well, it's a little more than we had planned, I think. Initially we were thinking, oh, get our first property. And in fact, we weren't going to get our first property until the fall of this last year, and ended up buying the first one in July instead, just because the right opportunity came up.
July of 2023.
And then we pretty quickly went into the next two purchases as well. So it was a little quicker, a little more aggressive than I think we were considering to begin with. But some opportunities just presented themselves, and we thought, well, we'll grab these opportunities while we're there. We'll work a little harder for now than we were thinking we were going to. But again, it's still driven by our pace. We can choose to slow down on one of the properties and not do a lot of work on it, or we can choose to go in and get elbows going and get it all going and move it as fast as we can. So we're in a little bit more business than we thought we would be this quickly, but that's all by choice. So we're moving along and doing some good.
And I'd just like to add to that too, is that in the beginning, it's, if you've never done anything like this, where you're investing in, another country, and you don't really know, the whole ins and outs and everything, which you learn through the Snowbird Investor Club. The very first deal that you make seems kind of scary and like, oh, what if this and what if that? But once you've done it once and you get that kind of adrenaline rush from it and the excitement, then you realize how really simple that it can be. What happens is it's like they say, it's like when you're single and you're going looking for somebody, you can never find someone, but it's when you're not looking is when someone comes along. And it's the same with this type of scenario. We got our first one, and the first one came to us where from an area that we weren't looking in. It just got presented to us by a wholesaler, and it was very interesting. And once we saw the margins that were involved, we said, yeah, well, let's start in that area. And then once we did, then more deals started presenting themselves to us and more opportunities without us even looking for them, really. And so it just kind of happened that way. It wasn't, a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It just did. And the second one came along, which was the deal was just so good. It was like, well, we can't say no to it. And then the third one happened the same way. It was like, look at this. It's like, you cannot lose on this. So, well, we might as well just jump in with both feet and keep on going. So it wasn't a plan to do that quickly, but it just made sense. So we ran with it.
So initially, where were you looking for? So when you were looking, you were purposely out there. You're saying, I like these markets, because I know a bit about that story. You were looking in certain areas, and then take us from there, how you ended up being in mostly in Sanibel. But Sanibel Island wasn't your first market. So
No,
what was your
not at all.
preferred market in the very beginning?
Wasn't even on our radar, frankly, to begin with. No, we were looking at the area that we hoped to move to at some point and thought that would be the best thing, get your base where you want to live. And that's in the St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Treasure Island, all that greater Tampa area on the Gulf Coast there. But there were just, weren't finding deals that looked...
Why did you like that area?
Well, we both spent a lot of time down there over the years just vacationing, and oddly enough, even though we had never met or been together, we both had been going to that same area for probably 25 years as vacationers. Mm-hmm. So when we did actually get together and meet, and it was discovered, just through conversation. Oh yeah, I've been going there. So we thought, well, that's where we'll start out looking, but we just didn't seem to find deals that we felt were not a risk, where, we could possibly make some money, but if something went wrong and you were off by 10 or 20,000, that could eat up your profits easily enough, and, you may not make any money. So I actually started looking outside that area too. And I was looking at, all along the East Coast, say from, maybe from Melbourne down to West Palm Beach, and was looking in, at all kinds of stuff over there. And then I started looking over in the Winter Haven area that's just outside Orlando. So it was, fairly close to Disney and like 10 minutes from Legoland. And we actually did have one deal that we were trying to put an offer on, but it didn't work out. So I was really looking at all kinds of different areas that I felt were, kind of hot spots that drew people. Um, and and then it just this one day, just through joining some lists of wholesalers, this wholesaler sent us 5 deals that were all on Sanibel. And once we looked at them, it was like, yeah, like a lot of wholesalers will inflate their after repair value to try to get you to purchase. But when we did our own, diligence, we found that the 5 deals that he sent us, any one of them was a no-brainer, and we just picked the one that we felt was the best one, and that was our first one just to get started. And so it kind of, like I said, we were not really specifically looking there. It just kind of fell into our laps. And once we did one, then
Yeah, once we got on the island and we saw the opportunities there, since there was so much damage from Hurricane Ian, there were a lot of properties that had been gutted basically and needed to be renovated from the studs and the foundation up. So a lot of opportunity there, and unfortunately,
And
it's because of there's some bad things happened to some other people, but it gave us a lot of opportunity.
and that's quite interesting because you were how are you able to find the market that works for you? You were open and you
yes.
were looking in different areas. And I kind of, as a coach, being kind of like, new agey, airy fairy, you put out the energy that you're open to it. And then serendipitously, almost like how you guys met each other, you found a market that actually works for you. So it was like deal first, and then you looked into the market a very close second, right?
Yes.
Rather than the other way around, where even what I teach is say you look for the market that fits your lifestyle, your ideal lifestyle, and then you mine that market for the deal. But you guys actually did it kind of the opposite way, which also
Mhm.
works. Uh, and so tell me about what attracted you to Sanibel as a market as well, considering the first attractor was, well, we found a deal that with enough money in the buy that makes the numbers work. So kind of walk me along that. So you found the deal where the numbers worked, and then you became more, I guess, educated yourselves about the Sanibel market, and then that whole southwest Florida market.
Well, I'd like to add first in here, even beyond the real estate opportunity, Sanibel is kind of known as a beautiful Florida place to visit. People have been going there to do shelling for years and years and years, and it's always been a very prestigious island, and people want to be there. It's only three miles wide by 11 miles long, so it's a small island, but it's held its value over the years. It's a beautiful place. People want to be there. People want to go there. People want to own there. So it's been one of those areas that you kind of know about, and oh, I'll go there, and it's a lovely place, and it's a little higher end, and so I've kind of known about that, and it being kind of a prestigious area for years, and then we ended up dropping into looking at doing some real estate there. That's what you take.
Mm-hmm. I know from my perspective too, Sanibel. I visited there a couple times before even you guys had gotten in there, and it has a bit of a reputation, like you said, a bit of a higher end, and thinking, oh yeah, oh geez, I would never buy there. Someday maybe. And then you guys had these 5 deals brought to you. So what was it that attracted you? When you say the numbers work, Gary, can you give us an idea of like some averages of how you viewed them?
Yes. Typically, you're going to find things for around 60 cents on the dollar right now because of the hurricane damage, which is kind of astonishing to find that kind of money, what we call the money in the buy. Um, because
Yes.
a lot of things you're buying things at maybe 70 to 80% value, and you're putting some money into it, and then when you come out, if you make 20 or $30,000, that seems to be like a success story for a flip. But what we found over here, and I guess maybe they can kind of talk numbers a little bit about the first deal before looking at any pictures or anything. It is a higher end market, but the first property we found was being presented at 650,000, but the pre-hurricane damage value was already close to $1 million, and we know that prices are starting to come back up now that it's been over a year since the hurricane hit, and that values are starting to increase, and people are starting to realize that the more the island gets restored, the more the value keeps increasing. So when we found this first deal at 650,000, and we knew that the ARV was very minimum, $1 million, you've already you basically look at it as, well, 350,000 is there in the buy before renovations. So I looked at it, and it was a case of just based on my experience, without actually doing a real numbers crunch, just off the top of my head, saying it's going to be this much for drywall, this much for kitchen, this much for paint, this so on, so on, so on. You add it all up, just loosely saying, well, we've got about 150,000 in renovation costs in here. So if you add that to the 650, we're now at 800,000. Then there's going to be some interest costs and carrying costs, closing costs, so on, so on. So we're probably going to end up at around 900,000 as a all-in cost.
Realtor fees.
Yes. So and that was just the initial outlook of it. So we thought, well, if it's at minimum $1 million, we've got 100,000 in the buy after all expenses are made. So that's a pretty good profit to be making on one project that takes you 5 to 6 months to complete. So that was what kind of drew us to the very first deal. And since we've actually found better deals than that even. So it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, and that particular area too, because of that reputation we talked about, feel like that gave us a little less risk too. There's been a lot of talk about markets depreciating and property values are going down. Property values don't go down on Sanibel. And if they do, they pop right back up because there's just a limited inventory and people love to be over there. So that we felt like that reduced our risk a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm. And it is an island, so it's not like they can keep building outwards. There's a finite amount of land.
That's right.
And has a very high end, it's a super high end, but relatively high end area to begin with. And it's the beaches are great. I just love those beaches.
Mm-hmm.
I want to switch to some of the before pictures that you guys had sent me. So if you're listening to this podcast, this might be a good time to find us on YouTube to see the interesting before and after pictures. And I'd like to ask you guys to kind of walk me through it. So
sure.
Let me just switch here to entire screen. And there you go. So what was your impression when you first saw this property, when this property was brought to you? Did the fact that it's stripped down to the studs intimidate you at all, or was that a good thing?
No, it wasn't intimidating at all, because my background in home construction, I mean, basically I was looking at a house that, if this was a new construction project, it's already that much further along, where, the foundation is already in, the roof is on, the walls are closed in from the outside, and the windows are done. So now it's just a matter of finishing the inside, which is, pretty easy, really. You get the right subcontractors. We did, have some learning things that we found out, after we made the purchase. Primarily, when we first looked at this, I thought, oh, well, all we have to do, the wiring's already there. All we have to do is replace the receptacles, and then move on to insulation and drywall and so on. But once we got there and we started digging into it and meeting with contractors and talking to them about, the rules that Sanibel has, we discovered that, all of the wiring that's in there really needed to be stripped out, because the way these properties were damaged, they weren't damaged by the wind from the hurricane. They were damaged from the water surge that came up. And actually, this house was filled with very close to 6 feet high, full of water. So all of the water, got into all of the receptacles, and we thought you just have to replace the receptacles. But then the electricians just said, no, that water that gets into the receptacles then wicks up into the wiring and erodes the copper ground wiring. So, you really need to strip all the wiring out back to the panel and redo it all. So that was, a little bit of a learning curve. So it's like, okay, well, let's get the electrician in here, get a price to pull all the wiring out and then rewire it. And in this particular case, it was $20,000 to do that. And then, then we just moved along. Once, it's no different than building a new house. You redo the wiring. Then we moved on to the insulation. Most of the plumbing had already been redone. There was a few things that just needed a couple little changes.
HVAC
we needed one more return air vent to come from the master bedroom, back to the air condition handler, just to bring it up to code. We had to replace the air conditioning main AC unit. The air handlers are all in the attic, so we didn't have to replace that. So it was really just, like new construction.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you're just listening to this, it doesn't do much justice. It's better if you can check us out on the video version of this interview. Cindy, I'd like you to kind of talk a little bit about the actual location and where it's sitting, what you like about that. Like, describe. It's not just in the middle of a neighborhood on a regular street, right? So,
No,
can you talk a little bit to that?
It is actually in a little neighborhood, which, we've talked to some of the other residents there. They love it there because it's kind of quiet and there's not a lot of traffic. However, this particular property also sits on a little piece of water. So the house looks out first onto the screened in pool. And then beyond that is the, it's not a canal. It's just
It's
a
like
little
an
lake.
inland pond lake type body of water.
So the water is right out there. So
It's like a retention pond?
No, it's just natural water. But it doesn't lead anywhere. So is my point. A lot of the canals go out somewhere else. And this property, come to find out, you actually own all the way out into the middle of the water there, so that if you wanted to put a dock out there and put a little boat, or even just to be able to fish off of a little pier, the property goes out to the center of that piece of water. So the view and the sunset goes down over that water in the evenings, and the lanai and the pool is screened in to keep the bugs out, and then the beautiful water view on the backside of that is just lovely. And then there were some, if you're seeing the video portion of this, there are some storm shutters that come down between the lanai and the pool, and that helps keep, certainly not 6 feet of water out, but it keeps down on the more traditional hurricane times, keeps down some of the water and damage, but also gives you some privacy as well if you want to close that off and have your little sitting area in there that others can't see into.
Mm-hmm.
And a little shade.
Now, on that, was there any? Yeah, go ahead. The shade?
Yes, and it provides a little shade because the evening sun can, certainly in the middle of the summer, get pretty toasty back there.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that what might be on some people's minds too is the hurricane damage in the past. Was there any special accommodations you needed to make when you were bringing it back to its former glory? Like any special permitting for preparedness for hurricanes?
Well, you had to get a permit with a general contractor to be able to perform the work there. A general contractor that's licensed had to pull the permits. But basically, it's kind of like, even back in Canada, when you're doing a house renovation, if you're going to do it legally, you have to bring everything that you do up to current code. So And that's where, I mean, you rely on your experts because, to be quite honest with you, I don't know what all of the current Florida codes are, and they change. So that's why you've got to have a general contractor that can pull the permits and have the knowledge to work with you basically to educate you on what needs to be done to bring it up to permit. So, it was really, we had to bring it up to electrical code. We relied on our electrician, being the expert to do that. He would tell us, well, we have to do this, we have to do this. This has been a change since, but they weren't, major structural things. The only thing that, again, when you're looking at, and it can be different too between Sanibel and say Fort Myers Beach, and say
Right, the
different
city will
than Orlando. They all have
their
their
own
own
codes.
specifications as to what they want. In on Sanibel, if you take out any, let's say you leave windows in that are already there that were not damaged, that's fine, even though they don't meet code. But the moment you want to take that window out and put in a new window, that window now has to be a hurricane impact glass window. So you just
Ah,
have to,
interesting.
yeah. So you cannot just replace it with a normal, double pane vinyl window. No, it has to be a hurricane impact window. Same thing on our third property. We now have to replace a garage door that got all twisted and bent out of shape from the wind of the hurricane. And to replace that garage door, you can't just put on any old regular insulated garage door. It has to be a hurricane impact door. So of course, that they cost more money, but to bring it back, to bring it to code, that's what you have to do to satisfy the city of Sanibel.
So there's on the renovation, there's a few things like that. If you were to build new on the island, it goes beyond that. You have to build above. You have to, everything has to be on the second level stilts, or the first level cannot be habitation. It can be just a garage, etc. But the existing homes, you can still continue with the ground level homes and get permitted and approved for that.
Mm-hmm. And so let's fast forward a little bit now, because I'm excited to share some of the photos that you have. It's currently listed now, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
Yay.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks now.
So it's on Zillow, and you can see that there. Here are the after photos. And before we jump into the details of this, because the photos are just gorgeous to be able to take a look at, what did you like most about this property? Is it like the layout? Is it the location? For someone who's looking to say, you know what, this is great, good job, guys, I just want to go in, and they're still able to actually make some money in the buy, considering what the hurricane values were. They were really high. They're getting back up there, but this is still, I think, is still a steal for someone who just wants to move into a move-in ready house. So what would you say is the favorite parts, Cindy, about this project?
Some of the top things that, when I would be personally looking at a home that I would like about this, it's got a nice little circular driveway. So there's plenty of parking. There is a garage, but there's plenty of parking. Of course, the pool and the water view is just lovely. And the fact that it's got screened in, because the bugs do get a little tough at dusk. But this particular home too, it's got a great square footage. There's just a lot of space in it. There's a lot of opportunity to put cabinetry in there, and so many of the homes or the condos, etc., on Sanibel are smaller, and this is just at almost 2,500 square feet is one of the better size homes. And then, of course, the open concept there, and having the kitchen and looking out on the pool and all the sliders on it. It's just a lovely property that you do feel like, oh, I'm enjoying the best of Florida here.
Mm-hmm. I noticed one thing. It's interesting. You got the receptacles, the electrical receptacles are a little bit higher on the kitchen part than normally would other places be down by the floor. Was that on purpose, or was that a requirement? or was that a personal judgment call on your parts?
Yeah, the height is not really a requirement. It's just nice that, if you want to charge your phone or you want to, plug in your laptop or whatever.
Or crock pot or something.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to go too far down.
yeah. The cord doesn't have to be that long to reach. It was a requirement of code to actually put three um, outlets on that island because of the length of it. It's almost 12 feet long. Um, so that was a code requirement. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. One of the other features that I really like about this house is that it's the there's two bathrooms in the home. One is in the master bedroom, and then there's another bedroom that is, that if you've got company come over, that the other two bedrooms use. But as you can see now from that picture too, we put a nice wet bar out there as well, which has got about 9 feet of cabinetry as well. And it's got the window above that bar is a pass through. So from the kitchen, you can actually pass through, dishes and things. Yes, right there from the kitchen through to the outside.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, without having to walk around and carry everything out. You just open the window and pass it through. But back to, I was saying, the second bathroom actually has a door off of the pool area. So you don't have to go all through the house when you're out at the pool area to get to the bathroom. It's got its own door that leads right in. So it's almost like a pool house bathroom, but also a part of the house, which is quite nice.
Where's that secondary bathroom here?
So there you go. Right.
A few
in there.
bathrooms here, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
there it is right there. There's a shower and potty there. And one small vanity.
Yeah, and that door right there
goes
out to the pool area. Yep. See, so you can just come right in off the pool area to use the bathroom and change without having to go through the whole house.
Very nice. And so I'll definitely put the link available to anyone who wants to take a look at it. The address for this particular project, like, this is really cool because I know you guys are in the middle of it all, and I keep saying, like, you guys are doing what people see on HGTV. Like, this is real life. So the address here is 9421 Moonlight Drive, Sanibel, Florida. And it's currently, as of this recording, which is February 19th, 2024, it's available on Zillow. Could you give us the high-level overview of the numbers of how this one worked out for you up to this point?
Right. So it's consistent with how we started the podcast here. We purchased the property for $650. Now, if you look on Zillow, it'll show that it was sold for $625, but that does not include the $25,000 wholesaler's fee for the wholesaler that presented this property to us. So that's why we say $650. So it was purchased for $650. There were some closing costs. And then we had about 175 into it. That's including some travel costs as well, and meals and expenses that we're able to claim. But the actual renovation costs are probably more like about 160 to 165. But all in all, we're probably just a little under 900 by the time it's all said and done. As you can see now, we have it listed for 1.2. We don't know whether we're going to get that or come closer to that, but the interesting part and the exciting part is that it doesn't really matter. We've got it listed for that. If we were to sell it today for 1.2, we'd have 300,000 minus realtor fees. If we sold it for 1.1, we'd be at 200,000. So if we sold it for 1, we'd be at 1. So this is what the saying that we spoke about earlier in this interview, that the money in the buy was there right from day one. And here we are with our forecast. We did say we thought this might take up to 6 months. It took 5.5 months from the day that we purchased it to the to the day that we put it for sale. So everything came in right on.
So I want to ask you, just to kind of wrap up a little bit, not right away, but speak to Cindy, if you wouldn't mind, if you could speak to the day to day, because it's easy to talk about it when it's ready, it's all beautiful, it's listed, but you guys went through a lot from when you purchased it in June, July of 2023. We're now sitting here in February of 2024. So along the way, what I'm curious about is, how did you work that into making it fun? Because it sounds like it's cool, again, after the fact, to be able to show the pictures. Oh, look at the beautiful before and after. But when you're in the middle of it all, there's, Okeechobee, for anyone who doesn't really know the geography, Okeechobee is kind of like central Florida. It's that big blue circle, which is Okeechobee Lake. And Sanibel is about, well, you tell me, how far is the drive from Okeechobee to Sanibel?
You might as well say
And what was it like
about 2.5
checking out?
hours.
Yeah.
About 2.5 hours on average.
Yeah.
And so how did you make the most of it? Because on the one hand, it's work. It's exciting in the beginning to be able to see, oh yeah, we close, but then that's when the real work begins. And then checking up on it. Like, did you go every week? Was it every weekend? Plus, you also had to, I know, Gary, you're going to Canada, dealing with your visa situation. Then Cindy, you also visited family back in Arkansas. So I'm curious about the lifestyle aspect of it. How did you juggle all of the above, Cindy?
The majority of what we had some fun doing was, in the evenings as we finished up for the day, what we had been checking on and working through. We got to visit different places for meals and music and beach, and we stayed in Fort Myers Beach normally while we were staying there, so we got to enjoy that nighttime life. We have some commitments back here in Okeechobee because we've got some property here, some locations, and some family here to keep in touch with. So without that, we probably would have spent a little bit more time over at the beach on the days off and hung around there. But there's some things that we needed to get back for. So we have, I think only once did we leave on a Sunday and take up part of the weekend. The majority of the time we would go 3 days a week and then sometimes 4 to go over there and check on things and get the contractors lined up. And Gary was reviewing everybody's work for the quality check. And so it kept us pretty busy. And then, of course, documenting all of the charges and all of that type of stuff. So the biggest thing that we got really fun wise was evening time after our hard day of work. But then again, it was not all week. It's not a Monday through Friday thing. A lot of the work that we're doing is on the phone, talking to people and giving them direction. So it's not terrible. And I was doing a little hands-on, just some cleaning stuff and things like that kept us a little busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that too. It's that, so that people that are listening to this, they're not disillusioned with it and thinking that it's all, gumdrops and fairy dust. It is a bit of work. And, we weren't over there every single week. You can do this kind of things from home, from Canada. You could purchase the property and have somebody else running it and so on. If you're doing flips, that you decide you want to get into doing flips down here, you could do it from home, but you'd be taking on other projects that are a little bit more simpler, where they're just more cosmetic, doing, taking out carpet, putting down new flooring, having somebody come in, put in a new kitchen, paint, maybe a little bit of trim and some yard work. You can do all of that from home with having somebody else run the project. But, the projects that we're taking on is really almost like building a house. It's, because you're taking it from raw stud condition to finish line. When we first purchased the property, we closed on it July 13th. We didn't even have to be here to close, but we did, just because of the excitement of it. We never,
and we hadn't stepped foot on the property.
We hadn't even stepped foot on the property and actually gone through it before we bought it. We just looked at the pictures, talked to the wholesaler, got as much information that we could about, how much inspection's been done and what it needs and what it doesn't need. And then we just went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought it. So the very first time we
Amazing. So hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. You purchased this place sight unseen, correct?
Yes.
In person, yes.
Yes.
I mean, all we saw was what the pictures that you saw, the before pictures were the actual listing from Zillow.
And that's all we saw.
And that's all we saw. And we had our wholesaler send somebody in to visually do a walkthrough and inspection and report, everything that they knew to us, that, it already had an updated panel, but they knew the air conditioner needed to be replaced. They, they gave us as much information as they could, but we never actually came down and walked the property and did our own visual
until after closing.
Until after closing. Yeah. And we closed on it July 13th, and we
That's
flew
huge.
Down, yeah. We flew down here on July 13th to just go to the title company to sign the papers and close on it. And then it was that day. It's like, okay, well, here we go. We own this property now. Let's go see it. And we drove down. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And while we were here for
Can you pinpoint?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, hold on. Can you pinpoint to one thing before we move on? Can you pinpoint the one thing that gave you the confidence to close on this property without actually physically setting foot in it? I'm sure a lot of people would be curious. What was that one thing, if there's one thing that you can point to?
The big thing is that the wholesaler assured us that it didn't need a new roof. Because for one thing, this roof is a clay tile roof as it is. But even just for a shingled roof, because of the hurricane impact, when it first happened, every contractor from all over the United States fled here, and they inflated all of the prices. And so even now, they're starting to come down a bit. But I mean, the lady across the street that has a house that's almost 1,000 square feet less than ours, she paid almost $40,000 to have a shingled roof done, which is absolutely ridiculous. It should have been maybe around $12,000. So that was one of the things that gave us big confidence, was that we were assured by the wholesaler that the roof was good. We were also told that the electrical panels were updated, so we knew we didn't have to get into a major expense with that. And then just looking at it, just with my experience,
doing research on it and seeing what properties go for out there, was like, okay, well, even if
we run into a big surprise, there was enough money in the buy that we didn't have to worry about, okay, if it's going to be another 20,000 or 30,000, or, it's not going to break the bank. There's, we're not at risk. We're still going to make maybe not as much as we thought we would, but we're still going to make money, So that's what gave us the confidence, was just those. The big things, there wasn't any, really, really big things that needed to be addressed with the structure of the building. So
now, before I lose this thought, when you asked about the hurricane and if that changed anything, there was one thing we found out after we bought this house, and that is that there is a 50% rule on Sanibel right now, in that if you have renovations to do, you get your estimates on the renovations. If the renovations are more than 50% of the pre-hurricane value of the building, not the land, but just the structure, if your renovations are going to be more than 50%, you cannot do them. You have to make it a tear down instead and start new.
Yeah.
So that's something that's a little risky if you don't know, if you don't really know what it's going to cost to renovate a place there, and you don't really know, you have to do some research and make sure you understand the value of the home beforehand. How much you really think you're going to put in it to bring it back up, and make sure you don't run into that and go, oops, instead of spending, $100,000 on a little house, I've now got to tear it down and start fresh. So you could get caught in a little problem there if you're not paying attention.
That would be like, as an example, if the house pre-hurricane value was only $600,000 and it's going to cost you $400,000 in renovations to bring that house up to occupancy,
you're not allowed to do it.
You can't, because you're over that 50% of the value. But it's pretty rare that you're going to run into something like that.
That one we looked at though on Castle Island, that one, I can't see that one.
No.
There are some that people have shown us. Like, oh boy, this is in terrible shape, and it's like, I don't think you could redo that one for 50% of its previous value. So there's some out there. But
and so you guys are really, really heads and shoulders into this whole renovation in Sanibel, because even beyond this Moonlight one, you've got two more.
Yep.
which we might have to call you back on and talk about progress report on that. But in essence of time, if we could zoom out to like big picture once again, this is your lifestyle. This is not, I want to point out that it's not about, the number one impetus for you guys doing this is not about making tons and tons of money. You guys are retired, semi-retired, and can you, one of the last things I want to ask you is bringing it back all together is, I got to ask the question on behalf of viewers or listeners, is if somebody has some money and wants to invest and do what you guys do, but they understand that they don't have the expertise, they're not boots on the ground, are you open to having people reach out to you to potentially work on a project like this in this area or any other areas?
Yes. What I would say first is to join the Snowbird Investors Club and take the 3-day course program so that you can educate yourself, because, I don't know what their cost is for that now. It changes, I suppose, but whatever
We would
that,
not be doing that. We don't want to train somebody on
No.
everything that Coach Royal
no,
trains everybody.
exactly. You should educate yourself and
have some
at
level
least,
of expectation.
and also a level of, what you need to do to set up your structure, because it's not like you can just come and say, oh yeah, here's my money. You have to, create your own corporation and LLC and get set up as a business first. And so you should learn how to do all of those things. But yeah, if you're a person that's, want to be involved, and you want to basically be a little bit passive in just investing your money, we would certainly take on partners if it was the right situation. It's not always. I mean, sometimes people have good intent, but for some reason it just doesn't feel right. And but if it is, and if you're interested in something like that, you could reach out to us on our Facebook page, CG Florida Fun. That's how you'd find us. Exactly how it's spelled: CG Florida Fun, as in ha ha ha. We're having lots of fun. FUN, CG Florida Fun. And you'd find us there, and you can see our projects that we're doing, and the posts that we've put of what we're doing along the way. And then just send us an email and say, oh, I'd be interested. And from there, we might ask a few questions, and if it seems like a fit, we'll carry on. And if it's not, we'll say, oh well, good luck. I didn't think that was the right fit for this. But
Yeah, and we are just focusing on Sanibel, or even maybe a little area around that if something came up in Fort Myers or Cape Coral or something like that. But that general geographic area, we're not looking to travel across the state to do projects in other areas.
There's not enough time for that. We don't want to be working full time driving from one side to the other. We do enough of that already. So
excellent. Keeping focus on what's really important is the fun part of the CG.
Yeah, and the thing is right. Like they say, the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we found something that works for us in the Sanibel area, which could, reach out to some other areas, like Cindy said, but we're not looking to reinvent the wheel and, go up into Orlando and then over to Miami and, and then back over to Sanibel. It's just geographically too far to be moving around different areas. So.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing I want to ask for both of you, is at this point going forward, what does the future hold for you guys? Like, how would you ideally like it to be? I know you said in the beginning you had the one property and you were going to take a certain pace, but then you just couldn't say no to these other properties or these other opportunities that did come up. Ideally, we'll go with Gary first, and we'll let Cindy have the final word, as it were. Is over the next year or so, what would you like your pace, your business, your lifestyle? Paint me a picture of how you would like that to unfold from this point forward. Gary first.
Yeah. Well, our second property just went to drywall stage today. So this is the point where it gets exciting, where all the mechanicals are already done and finished, and it moves along very quickly after this because the drywall will be finished in the next couple of days. The painter will come in, paint the whole place out before the flooring goes in the next week. The following week, all of the flooring, the doors, trim, everything will be put in. So that property is really going to take off quickly, and it'll probably be for sale within the next 2 months or so. And then the third one, we just got permit last week, so we're just about to start that. But we're anticipating, hopefully, that will be completed by June. And then we're going to take a break because we kind of pushed it a little harder than what we initially had planned to do. And we'll go back up to Canada in sometime in later in June and spend the summer there for July and August. And hopefully at that point we're not dealing with too much more that's left on the properties, and we can just have some time off, and then we'll pick it back up again in the fall by acquiring another property and start all over. From this point, like I think we've like I said, it's not all gumdrops and fairy dust. There is some work to it, and there's times when things go wrong that you don't expect, and you need to deal with those things. So this isn't something that we want to carry on and until we're into our 70s, but but maybe we'll do it again with two, maybe next year. Who knows? We say that now. Maybe it'll only be one. Maybe it'll be three. It just sometimes it's like you say, things come your way that you don't expect in it, but it's the right thing. Seems like the right opportunity. So I think we'll just kind of take things as they come and as they go, and we'll do this for a little bit longer, and then maybe after that we'll switch gears a little bit and get into doing some properties that we can fix and rent rather than fix and flip. And but it's a thing where, like I said, things you don't always go the way you plan. They just come to you, and you just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Excellent. And
I think,
Cindy, how about you? Say, the next year and a half, how would that look ideally if we'd have it your way?
I think we kind of want to hit it hard, particularly in Sanibel right now, because these opportunities are limited, right?
They're going to
Because
dry up eventually.
this particular thing is associated with the damaged homes and all of that. So we're going to hit it a little hard, I think, continuing over the next year and a half. And then after that, as we get closer to the time that we maybe want to move over to the coast and such, we might start transitioning a little bit to more of one or maximum two a year, and that way it just kind of spreads it out. It relieves the stress and the pressure on that, and just keep. I can see us doing one or two a year or something, whatever that is. And some rentals would be great. Doing something on a couple properties yearly to add to our portfolio and just keep moving forward and keeping us young, keeping us busy and young.
Mm-hmm. And having fun the whole way through, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
For the most part, we try to get our beach days in, and we try to get our pool days in and in between. And there are times that are busier than others. When we first started this, we closed on the first property July the 13th last year, and we spent 2 weeks down here. Really, we weren't working so much, but just discovering Sanibel, going to Fort Myers
Driving
Beach
around.
while we were interviewing contractors. And it took us 2 weeks to finally determine which contractor we were going to work with. And then he started to pull the permits. And again, in the beginning, we really didn't have all that much involvement to do hands-on. We weren't going over there every week. We would just call the contractor and say, okay, yeah, has the electrical been done? Yep. Okay, what about the plumbing? Yep, that's been done. And he just moved the project along. We didn't go over there every week until it was more into
well, we didn't even come down after the purchase. We didn't come down from Canada until we came down for the
that's right.
for the winter.
Yeah,
so
we went back
didn't
to
do
Canada
anything with it until
after
October.
we closed. That's right. And then when we came down in October for the season, then we started going over there as the project moved along further, and having to deal with corrections and redoing, putting out little fires here and there for things that weren't going right. And we would go over there, but for the most part, it it can carry itself if you've got the right person, general contracting for you.
And the more we use
That's
the
huge.
same tradesmen,
That's
the
a big
better
thing.
that'll get, because we have faith that that particular subcontractor is going to do the job to the standards that we want. So as we build more and more using the same subcontractors, we'll have to be over there even less and less.
Yeah, and also might add that, the first one was the first time we'd ever flipped a house in Florida, and it was a little different than doing something back in Canada. So we learned some things. We figured out what works and what doesn't, and what to do different the next time. And so even onto this second project, it's been a little different, and we've almost developed like a little bit more of a system now on the second one, which will carry over onto the third one, and things are just starting to get a little more smoothly, and taking off a little bit more of the pressure of things going wrong. So it's working out great.
Amazing. Wonderful. Well, once again, I really, really appreciate you guys taking the times out of your busy, sort of busy, not so busy, semi-retired schedules,
Yeah,
but
you cut into
nonetheless
our
taking the
full-time
time out
today.
to share.
You cut into our
Sorry for
full-time
that.
today.
Yeah.
But we really appreciate you sharing your authentic story and just giving people an insight as to what it looks like to be doing this like for real. And so I'm sure we're going to have you guys on again at some point in the future with updates on your future projects and lifestyle. Gary and Cindy from Okeechobee, Florida.
Yes. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for having us.
Once again, my pleasure as well. Once again, check them out if you guys have questions or you want to potentially see if you would be qualified to work with them. Who knows? You never know where it might lead. They can be reached at CG Florida Fun on Facebook.